Talk is going. Nice. All right, guys. Welcome to the Joyage Kingdom. I'm Cage, your guide. I'll be replacing the voice inside your head for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say first, thank you for listening and reviewing on whatever platform you're on. TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitch, all the things. Click that like button if you're in the YouTube stream. Subscribe to the channel. Join the kingdom. Follow me on Twitter, all the things. Today we have Minnie, founder of ZenApe NFT, among like literally 10,000 other things and quite the resume. I'm really excited to talk to you. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Hell
and
yeah.
first time chatting, even though we have a lot of mutuals and I've definitely seen you around.
Let's go. I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, a few of my Aussie friends are excited about this. I'm hoping they can catch it live. What time is it over there again?
It's 1 p.m. on Saturday.
1 p.m. Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your weekend. So I listened to the Unorthodox podcast, and they were like talking about all the things. They didn't like go as deep as I wanted to, which is like part of the reason I reached out literally the second that podcast ended and I watched it. I was like, okay, I need to know more because I don't know what it was. I thought they could have gone for like another hour. So we're gonna talk about all the things. But first, I would love to know, like, I know you got it. You're like definitely, I would consider like OG in the NFT space. Like you were around, like you know the words of like cyberkongs. If I say a word like that, then you at least know that. A lot of new people literally have not heard of these big projects, and it's crazy to me.
Right. Wow. I can't believe that there's a newer crowd than me. I guess it has been a while now, but
When did you get in?
Like probably like 11 months ago, maybe 12 now. So I wasn't here for the bull run per se, like the bull run that everyone talks about, where you could mint BAYCs for. But you could mint fakes and punks and things. I was not here for that. But I was here for the very, very end of the bull run. So I got a tiny glimpse of that.
Yeah.
And then stuff happened.
So you said you were in here for 11 months?
Probably. It's definitely coming around to a year.
Yeah. That's I would definitely consider. I mean, some people were OGs. I mean, if you were out here buying CryptoPunks, like you got a problem. Like I don't know what you were doing buying CryptoPunks 4 years ago. I literally don't know, because I remember when people were talking about some of those crypto things back in the day. And that was before I was in, and I remember thinking they were crazy. I was like, I don't know why you're buying this stuff. It sounds so sketchy. I would consider like, I guess second wave OG is like that summer / fall of those things. That was a different time. And Gen X, this is live. Yes.
Yeah,
indeed it is. But yeah, that was a different time. So I love talking about those things. Whereas, and I remember in someone's podcast, they brought up that a lot of the people on the ZenApe team were like cyberkongs holders. Were you like part of that? You had a cyberkongs?
So when we were making ZenApe, we were all in uni and had like no money. And at that point, you know, cyberkongs were worth probably like even their VXs were a couple $1,000s. So at the point when we were releasing, cyberkongs were the NFT that I wanted to be like my first big purchase. So we were trying to build our way up there. And no, I think I held like all of my NFTs at that point would have been around the 0.1 mark, because I started with probably like 0.3 to 0.5 Ethereum. And I like, that's all I could afford to put in and sort of play around with. So no, I kept saying that my first big purchase was going to be a cyberkong. It was going to be a VX, and then I was going to work my way up to a baby. And I held on to that. My first big NFT purchase was a VX that I bought from one of the council members.
Let's go. Which one? Yeah. I had both those guys. I had Henry and I had Inverted on the show.
Mine's from Sven.
Okay, nice. Right on. Yeah. What was it about the Kongs ecosystem and like the monkeys? Because you dropped the ZenApes project. So there's something about monkeys. What is it?
Yeah, so the reason we were sort of along that theme is because we were a Kongs Tank project. They did like this sort of Shark Tank tester-like idea that the Littles also came from, where they were sort of looking for extra ways to add value to their own ecosystem. And the way they were going to do that was they were going to fund in-sourced projects to start up and, you know, give utility to their ecosystem token Banana, or give some other uses to VX and things like that. So, and that was a really good path for us, because like I said, as uni students, we had no funds. There's no way that we would have been able to sort of do this without the support of other people. And so like the main support that really helped us from the Kongs was getting in touch with Inu Arashi, who was our developer for all that initial stage, because Inu was one of the few devs that we knew would be trustworthy and who would take payment after mint. Because like I said, we had no money and we didn't want to contribute anything from like our college tuition savings or whatever, or our rent money to starting this NFT project. So we started with zero money, and everyone who we paid, so the artist and our dev, we did with the mint funds afterwards. Which was really lucky. So having that sort of boost from the Kongs community and the support really helped.
What was it that got them to be like, yeah, we'll help you out?
I think, I don't know. It was, like I said, it was in that bull run where everything minted out. Like it
Yeah.
didn't matter who you were. Like, God, we're a bunch of college kids that have no business experience. We started it when we were 19. I'm 20 now, turned 20 this year, and never ever, done anything with money in my life. So I think it was just the bull market perpetuating everything, and perhaps it was the storyline as well, that we were such young people just sort of exploring the space. And at that time, everyone in that bull market was treating their mind and body like they were worth nothing. They were just absolutely draining themselves at their computers every single day, not getting outside. So ZenApe brought along this sort of, and us as young people, this little insight of like well-being. And so our whole pitch was, making sure you look after your mental health and your physical well-being. And we held yoga classes, and we had this really great, like well-being session instructor as well. And we ran all of that. And sadly, no one gave a shit. No one was interested.
Shit.
I know, that's where it's always like, oh,
man.
Devo. But I think, everyone loved the storyline. And
I mean, it's about the narrative anyways, like at that point. I mean, some people probably use. So, I mean, I did check out those videos, by the way. I did try and find as many clips, as much of anything I could find about ZenApes. And I found the YouTube channel, found the fitness videos. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, it's good to see that effort,
We ran all of this initial stuff to do with well-being, and like even I held some yoga classes and a lot of workshops on well-being, and workshops on we had like a Solidity course as well, where people, because I'm a computer science major, and so was another guy on our team who ran the Solidity course. But we just had like no turnout to those things, so that hence a massive shift in what the project became, more towards focusing on getting the workforce in Web3 thing, and finding trustworthy people in the space, as well as, having a whitelist marketplace and all of the stuff that people were wanting in other projects. And we saw that, and, we sort of, lost the initial vision that we wanted to have, because there was not really a market for it.
We need to pivot.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Oh my God, we just said the same thing twice in a row. Wild.
Yeah,
so yeah, no, that is super cool that you guys did that, and that's very important. Have you been able to use? Well, actually, first, before I say anything, the fact that you're a computer science major, props to you. I tried that. I failed badly. Literally, I failed badly. I did so bad it hurt. I remember walking into class and actually hating myself so much because of how bad I was at it. I would walk in. I hated my teachers, hated the professors, hated the actual like projects they gave us. I was sitting there, I was like, oh, I hate this. Is so dumb. I don't want to code this, and I can't code this, and like cheated on every test, still failed all the tests, and it was so rough. I don't know how you do it. Have you been able to use any of the computer science and the coding to actually like do some of the dev work, or were you able to outsource all that?
So just because of the sort of time constraints and everything we were working with, and I don't know, well, I didn't know Solidity at the time, and I'm only like third year uni, so I haven't done that much comp.
Gotcha.
Just some basic stuff like Java, Python, cybersecurity things. But it's definitely helped in being able to understand code, and in the space as a whole, being able to use Etherscan and making sure that I'm not sort of stepping into any traps by reading through contracts. And so I haven't done the dev work for our own smart contracts, like, tokenomics or the Mint contract. That's all been outsourced. But it's definitely helped me in general, figuring out the space.
Plus, when people hear that like you're a CS major, you've got people who understand the game a little bit. That really helps the I don't know. I guess the best word is like the narrative, but also like, I mean, I noticed that you actually I didn't notice. I just want to ask you. So you work with like all these other big projects. How did that come to be? What did you do? Like, I just would love to like hear that whole thing.
Yeah, so I try not to work with that many projects actually. My list has stayed the same the whole way through, because I'm, controversially, but I'm not a huge fan of people that jump across lots and lots of projects and just sort of like extract, value where they can. Like the typical advisors that jump from project to project, they make it pump, they take 15% or some like ridiculous cut, and they don't stay after Mint, they just keep moving on to the next thing and next thing. I'm not a huge fan of that, and I don't want to be associated with that, and I don't want that to be my brand. So I've had ZenApe The other thing is ZenTask, but that's created by us anyway, so that's under the same tree. Memeland, I was put as an advisor, but like advisors for Memeland have like varying influence over the project. I'd say we just reached out to answer questions, and that's about it. So that's more symbolic than anything.
Resume builder for sure. Keep that in that bio. I kept as many things as I can keep in my fucking Twitter bio. It's staying as long as it possibly can.
I know. I'm so grateful to 9gag CEO. He's been a wonderful mentor in the space as a whole. And when he included me in it, I was like,
oh, legend. How did you get it? What, did you know him before? Was he a fan of ZenApes or?
So he's a huge holder of ZenApe actually, which like once again just blew my mind and is so kind of him. And he owns a Legendary as well.
Ooh, nice.
But when all of that happened, it was just insane. Like I'm not entirely sure how he got involved. I think like others, he just liked the narrative. But yeah, it's been an awesome help. I'm very grateful to him for sticking around.
Yeah, that is super cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
And I see Janek says, before we move on, can we get a background on ZenApes? Yeah, so you had mentioned the rebrand a little bit.
Yeah. So the background is an NFT project, but we initially were focused on sort of mental and physical well-being and keeping that a topic of focus in the space, because we noticed that it was very common for people to get burnt out. But as there was, not a whole lot of interest in that, we sort of pivoted to what we saw as other common problems in the space. And for us, that was that it's really difficult to find trustworthy people, because people in the space tend to be pseudonymous, so using an alternative name, as well as, just some occupations in Web3 are particularly hard to find, like Solidity developers. We had experienced that as project founders, and we had spoken to a lot of our other project founder friends and found out that they were the exact same, as well as having community members that were looking for work. So we pivoted to making a platform called ZenTask that is the sort of Web3 LinkedIn, if you will. And it was going to be a social and professional networking platform for Web3.
That is very cool. Very interesting. Janek says, thank you for the clarity. Love it.
No
Love
worries.
it. Yeah. It's hard to do. It's hard to come up with something, especially way after the project's been out for a while. And you're just like, because most people just aren't looking for anything, and which is really hard. It's a pretty shit place to be when that's your market, when like you don't know what they want, because a lot of them just want to buy, or they just want to be handed money. Basically, they want the airdrops. I mean, I can even understand that. Like, I'd love to get the airdrop. Like, I'm fucking hoping the Blur.io. Have you been hearing about that? The Blur.
I haven't signed up yet, but we still have a few days. I know. I heard some things about it, but I also heard some interesting things about their fundraisers. So
yeah, I was very happy that Zeneca went up and did a little response on Twitter, and then on his YouTube stream the other day he mentioned it. I think it was today actually, because of the involvement with Beanie, who I don't know if do you know Beanie? Do you remember him?
I don't know him personally, but I know of him. Yes.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because back in the day I covered him extensively on the YouTube channel. So people who want to know about Beanie, just type in my name and go back to the bull run of last year. Probably every other NFT market update has something to do with Beanie. And I mean, I don't know the facts. All I know is the narrative around him is people either are super for him because he probably made them a lot of money and he pumped their bags, or they're like, you're a rugger, all you do is sell on your fans. And so either way, he's a super polarizing figure. It's like having Donald Trump as like your advisor, or as like a seed fund investor or something for a project. So a lot of the Blur.io kind of got fudded out from that reason. And I don't really know. Like, I'm not exactly sure what to expect. It sounds like a bunch of other cool people are behind it. It seems like he only gave them money. Like, I don't know like how much of a hand he's had in it. But there's a lot of interesting things going on in the NFT space. Are you like, how involved are you right now in like NFT drama on Twitter at all?
So I'm in uni term at the moment, so I'm trying to have my head more in the textbooks, but every day I'm on Twitter, obviously. I tweet multiple times. I make sure first thing in the morning, as terrible as it is logging straight onto Twitter and catching up on the news, because being in the Australian time zone, everything happens overnight. So you need to catch up in the morning. So I'm very down and dirty with the biz and what's going on in the space. It's kind of, I don't know. I just don't know how to explain it. It's kind of shocking, and more so I'd say that nothing surprises me anymore, actually. Total opposite, where it's just so much happens every day to the point that when it does happen, I'm like, all right.
That's our entire generation with every single announcement that comes out nowadays about anything. Like if they come out tomorrow and they're like, okay, we lied, aliens are real, they're in New Mexico, like they've been there the whole time, they look like this, we'd all be like, oh my god, and then like 48 hours later we'd be like, all right, like now what?
Yeah,
you know, like literally. It's crazy.
Should be a shocking response, but we'd all be like, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, no, that's literally pretty much it. So I want to ask a question about, so with ZenApe at the very, very beginning, when you dropped the project, that shit must have been pretty scary. Mint Day, do you remember it?
Do I remember it? Oh my gosh. So I was at college at that point with, you know, in my little shoebox sized room, and all of my co-founders moved from their college bedrooms, moved in their mattresses, and we just camped out in my room, all of us in this absolute shoebox. They were sleeping on the floor, I was sleeping on my bed. If I'd leave to the bathroom, they were all sleeping in my bed. I was like,
that's hilarious.
It was the only one that was like raised from the floor, and we were just huddled, you know, all of us with our laptops, just grinding it out, freaking out. I went to hospital like 2 days before the mint, so we were all freaking out, like, are we going to meet our dates? Because I was doing like a full-time internship at that point as well, so I would go home from that and start working on, you know, ZenApe until midnight, and then go in the morning again. And so I was just so burnt out that which is kind of ironic because we were, you know, focusing on mental well-being and physical well-being. But it was insane. It was so stressful. Like I said, not a single one of us had experience in business before, or in NFTs. We launched this project within like a few weeks of being in the space, which I do not recommend to anyone. Young, impulsive people like ourselves, don't do it. Like, figure out what you're actually going to do first, and whether you really want to do it, and whether you want to be a slave to, you know, the customer service life that is being an NFT project founder. It was crazy. And then as well, having the pressure of all these people's money, because there's not a great definition of, you know, what an NFT project sort of like fundraising of all that money looks like or should look like. It's, you know, it's unsure whether you owe that money back to the people, but because people think, you know, it is, even though they've just purchased something from you. It's not like they're an actual investor that you know is supposed to receive dividends or something. But there was still a huge amount of pressure with you know, the responsibility that comes with that amount of money, and figuring out what to do. Yeah, it was still do. I still feel like I have this huge weight on my shoulder every day. So
yeah, that is fucking crazy. Did you guys make any mistakes early on where you were like, oh,
like fuck. Everything?
Really?
You know, you can take a look at ZenApe now, and while we're still here and, you know, working our hardest, and we put some of our roadmap on pause because we just knew it wouldn't do well in this market, like VX's, after the sort of response to Sandbox, that now we are just continuing to do because of the sort of bear market, and now that we've got time to build it, as well as it being like, we just really want to get our roadmap finished and deliver everything that we said we would. But there were so many decisions, like, you know, having a roadmap that was so clearly defined, but 9 months ago, terrible mistake. You can't tell what the market's going to do, or whether what you're trying to build at that point in time, which is going to take a long time to build, will still be relevant at that point. And because we made those mistakes and the answer was no, those things aren't relevant and people don't want them, then in the end, you're not as successful as you hoped, because the market doesn't want it. And we made huge mistakes with what we thought people would see as value and be interested in, and spent a lot of money on working towards those outcomes. And when they weren't what people wanted and the project does poorly, then it's, you know, I guess you classify that as a mistake, even though it's what we wanted to do. It wasn't what other people wanted.
I mean, that's all the fucking projects making games right now that nobody wants to play. I'm like, oh my god, some of these projects are in way too deep now, and that shit is expensive. It's so expensive.
It is. And one huge mistake that we made as well was we weren't very clear with tax laws in Australia, and we didn't understand that income tax, which is what you classify the income from the selling of the NFTs in your mint as, is different to like capital gains tax, so holding investments and things. So, you know, we made obviously a lot of income tax from the mint, and then we spent a lot of that on buying some high value assets like Sandbox land, some Genesis NFTs that very expensive, and other game land, and that devalued enormously over time. and we can't claim those losses against anything because it's a different kind of tax. And it's monumental. It's terrible, but it's also something that I don't try and, you know, get stuck up on, because 9 months ago, 10 months ago, I would have no clue. I would not have had a clue. I know all this now, but I'm not mad at myself back then for making those decisions. Like, obviously I'm annoyed about it, but there's no way that we would have made any other decision at that point because we didn't have a clue.
Nobody knew. I mean, we also all thought back in the day that it wasn't going to end anytime soon. So we're like, oh, get time. Like, we got time to build this, do this or that. And like, we didn't realize it would switch up and people would actually want something else. We were like, oh no, like they'll still want that. Right.
Yeah. and we thought those things that we bought were going to go to the moon. So
yeah, we did.
But I guess, I would say never, ever, ever use project funds to buy assets from another project, unless it's something that you know you'll use, like World Wide Webland or something, and you're going to definitely use it. But nah. So, and those are just two. But there's, you know, I could write a bloody book, an autobiography on this sort of thing. There's so many mistakes. And,
you maybe should, honestly. Like that would be a very interesting. Jesus Christ, I can't even speak. I would be very interested to see like what that would actually look like, and like the things that I don't even know what we did. I just remember like the energy and like how much hype there was, I guess is the best word to say, during that time. I just remember like when I would go live, it like mattered that I was going live. Like there were people like, we need this information right this moment because something's happening in 3 hours that we need to be aware of with all this information. And that was crazy. Like I'd never experienced that kind of rush before. I didn't even have a project. Like I have my own NFT art pieces. I'm a photographer, but I don't have like a big project like that. So it's totally different feel for me. I can't even imagine the level of responsibility with that many people in your Discord all yelling at you to do this or do that.
It's ridiculous. And yeah, I think conversely though, the best decision we made, Janix's comment just reminded me of that, was that immediately after mint, we calculated our tax, our income tax immediately, turned as much of that money into USDC as possible and held that. So that even though for our tax, Wow, so I'm saying with the assets, what I was talking about with that is that we've lost a lot of money that we can't get back and we can't offset. But luckily, at the very, very beginning, we converted as much money as we would need for tax out of Ethereum into USDC, so that now when tax season came around, we were fine and we had all that money. And you know, I can only thank Vultura for that, because he was a great guide at the very beginning as someone who's run businesses. And on our mint day, he texted me being like, take out your tax money now. And I was like, I don't know this guy, but he seems legit. I was like, guys, let's just do it. Let's just listen to this guy.
Shout out Vultura.
Shout out Volt. Yeah. Every time.
Damn, that is crazy. I wish I had known that. I would have asked him that when last time he was on. That is crazy, because I would say 90% of projects did not know, and they are all fucked. Like they just didn't know.
But you don't hear about it. Like this is my question: is I know our tax liability because we worked very closely, you know, with our accountants on it, and we worked it out very early on. And it was horrific. It was insane, because capital gains tax in Australia on the amount of money you make from a mint is like anywhere between 30 and 50%. It's nuts. And yeah. It's crazy. So I don't know how more projects have not just gone under, because I bet they did not do what we did and took out money at the beginning. And maybe they have, because at the moment I can only think of really like 10 projects that are still alive. You know, I actually can't even name any other projects because they've just gone horrifically
most of them are dead as fuck, and they're, you know, trying to like fucking, I don't even know what they're doing, like stirring the embers, like praying to God something will save them. I imagine is like what most of them are doing, because the problem is, like, even if they had a good idea or project, they're kind of damned if they are, damned if they don't anyways. Like no matter what, a lot of them are fucked. Like people just don't want them. And I'm like, that's hard to do. And like there's a bunch of companies right now, Web3 companies that like, I mean, I'm sure you get the DMs too. Like I get tons of them a day, and they're just like, we're trying to do this, trying to do that. And I'm like, you realize that your target audience for clients right now does not want any of the things you're offering. Like the people you're selling to don't want it. So
I feel it. Like, you know, we locked ourselves in with that roadmap saying that we wanted to do VXs, and now I'm slaving every day with the artist and the dev team to try and get it done, even though I know that when they come out, no one's going to care. And no one wants it, and it's not going to make our floor price rise. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. But, you know, for legal reasons and for reasons of integrity, I want to make sure that we still produce it, because, like we said we would. And
is this something you've talked about with like the community and been like, is this something you guys still want? Oh,
Yeah, and there's a few people that have been like, yes, because obviously they think it's going to do something and they think that they'll be able to sell
sure.
it or flip it or whatever. And I think that's the most annoying part, is that people still want it until you produce it and give it to them, and then they don't want it afterwards. You know, you put all the effort into doing it because they said the whole way up to the point of its release that they want it. And then when it can't give them a 10x, they're like, why did you waste your money doing that? Why would you put that on the roadmap? And you're like, it's you're damned if you do, damned if you
Yeah.
don't. Like, it's terrible, and it's just the game that we're in, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed that early on when I was making my YouTube videos, because when I first jumped onto the scene, it was like September of last year or August of last year, something like that, when I started doing the YouTube videos. And it was because I was watching all these channels. They're all the same. It was like what to buy, top 5 projects to mint tomorrow. And I was like, man, this is like, all these buyers suck, pretty much is what I'm getting. Like all the kids watching this don't have money. They've got just enough to mint this, praying to God that it goes up so they can sell it tomorrow. And I was like, that's not really an audience that I care to foster that much. I mean, a little bit maybe just for numbers sake. But like, I'd rather have an audience that is a little bit, I don't know, just like has a lid on themselves. And so like when I dropped my NFT art pieces and I made damn sure that everyone who was buying them, like, hey, before you purchase this NFT, you need to know exactly what this is, what it's not, so that, you know, if the price goes up or down or whatever, like even though it's an art piece, I don't know why they would think that. I was like, you need to know like what's going on, so you don't have the wrong idea when you buy it. Like all these people buying these projects, and as if like the mint price or the floor price going up is signifies that the project's doing well. I'm like, that's just what people are selling it back and forth. They have all this money in their treasury to do things. But it was really, really hard. I was really trying to figure out a way we could solve that, but there really wasn't a way to solve it because of the client base.
I know. I agree. I think it probably comes with the sort of how young the space is as well, that it's just attracted early adopters who probably aren't whales. They're just trying to find the next best thing and playing around with a little, you know, fun money and trying to make something of it. And I think that's the majority of people here. So it's really hard to cater to that, because what caters to that is continuously, you know, pumping and dumping and moving on to the next best thing. So projects can raise and they can build what they want, but the likelihood of it being of interest to the current market is terribly low. And so, you know, and like I said, like probably the most common sentiment is that hype is what drives projects and project success. And so the best sort of setup, which is just ridiculous, is telling people the least amount about your project as possible. You know, like, and so as much as you'd want people to be informed buyers, that's not what attracts people. People like not knowing anything about the project. They like it being super mysterious and then figuring out afterwards, or not staying to figure it out afterwards, flipping and going on. So
yeah, it's very, very interesting. Like, I mean, we're seeing that right now with like D-Gods and their Utes project. Still hasn't revealed. It's been like over a month. People have no clue what it is, what it's about, and like they're loving it because it's like all the speculativeness of it and like the trading and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It's a weird little world we're in. But anyways, I'd love to fast forward a little bit and get out of like the pluff mud of like that stuff. Where are you directing like your attention now? Like, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be, I guess, as a position in the Web3 space, or even do you want to?
I do. I'm still passionate about blockchain in general. As you know, as a nerd, as a techie gal, blockchain tech really does interest me, and I think it's got some great use cases, and I can see it being in the underlying technology for a lot of the future. So right now, I guess what I'm trying to do myself is work on my personal brand, because I am very interested in sticking around, and I've obviously, you know, had some experience in NFTs and Web3 as a whole, but there are definitely areas that I lack insight into, like a lot of DeFi. I'm not hugely familiar with that. And I want to be able to continue to provide value where I can and keep learning myself. So I've cut back on a lot of work at the moment. I'm actually finishing up my job with my current like traditional job in cybersecurity at the end of this month, and also dropped another advisory job. And I'm sort of just sticking to ZenApe at the moment and helping Vultura Labs with their Accelerate program. And other than that, I think I'm going to spend some time educating myself, because things are quiet at the moment. And if there's ever a time to learn instead of being an active participant in trading, then it's now. So I think I'm going to set myself a little budget in December. And I mean little, like 5K or something, and maybe, you know, like between 1 and 5K, and learning about DeFi and just sort of playing around with different protocols and altcoins and things, and trying to figure that out to round out my understanding of blockchain, as well as continuing to work on my personal brand. So doing some social commentary, maybe doing some Twitter spaces. I'm talking at NFT Fest in Melbourne. It's pretty cool. At the end of November. So just things like that. And yeah, if people ask for help at the moment, I'm happy to give it to them. Like, I've had a few different protocols and projects reach out and say, can we hop on a call and get some advice? And I'm not charging for it, like usual advisory or anything. I'm just like, sure, happy to listen. And
that's I feel like that's where a lot of us are at right now. The same with me, as far as like learning a couple new things. I tried to branch off in other blockchains a little bit, because I'm mainly in the content world, so I'm mainly just doing everything for videos, which is save my ass for when I'm trading, because 90% of the things I buy is just for either relationship's sake, or for like interest or curiosity, or if I think it'll help me understand something about their ecosystem more. Like I bought like a punk on the Elrond blockchain because that's one of their top projects, and I was like, at least it'll get me like a foot in the door. I can meet some of the community members and all that stuff. And so that's kind of where I'm at as well. And I hope that people who are in this space are kind of taking this time, because there's a lot of time now. And the problem is, I've seen a lot of people go from like one degeneracy to the next. Like now they're all just on the Twitter spaces, just all talking about just bullshit the whole time. And I'm like, no,
just yelling at each other.
Like, I'm like, come on, there's so much better things to do. Like, I've been trying to focus on LinkedIn. Apparently LinkedIn's like a big thing now. And so I'm trying, like, a lot of my tweets don't land because they're not shit posts, and I just don't have anything. I have no interest in that kind of thing. And that's what does well on Twitter. Like every time I do a stupid tweet, it always gets way more engagement. So I was like, okay,
I know what you mean.
Maybe my tweets are more better for LinkedIn. Like maybe I should spend that energy and just post on LinkedIn instead, because there's like people out there looking for jobs and stuff. And then I'm also looking for ways that I can kind of take pieces from things that aren't really related to NFTs. Like we're seeing a lot of big companies come in and not really mention the word NFTs, because the brand of NFTs, like the word is kind of just tied to just degeneracy. And like a lot of companies don't want to participate in that. They're like, oh, it's like a digital currency or a digital product or whatever. And they're saying it like that. Are you excited about that? Like, do you have any thoughts on like Walmart coming in, Starbucks coming in, Disney, all those big companies?
I think it's inevitable. Whenever there's a new trend, everyone tries to hop on it for marketing. But I also think it's great. Like, I think it'll take us into the next sort of era of blockchain tech and using it for applications that make sense and it's super practical. Like, I've always said that rewards loyalty programs, it makes a lot of sense to hold that on the blockchain and, you know, use dynamic metadata for updating different parts of loyalty programs. And I think if that's what they're using it for, then that's awesome. If they're just producing an NFT collection to get a little more money that has no sort of actual utility for their brand or anything, it's just the trend in the marketing, then I'm not as much of a fan of that.
Are you trying to, like, when you say you set yourself up and learn about DeFi and stuff, are you trying to like do that so that you can potentially join like when X company comes in as like a part of their team, and like see if, like, I figured for anyone who's like an individual who's doxed obviously too, is that anything that they do for themselves that's really cool, that maybe they can somehow tokenize and like distribute that to their community. Like that's something I want to do. Like that's something that Brett Malinowski, I don't know if you know him, he's the founder of Magic Mushroom Clubhouse. Like anytime he does anything cool with his companies, he just gives Magic Mushroom Clubhouse holders like access to whatever that is, or like some kind of discount or something like that. And like that's the cool part about having an individual who people know about with the personal brand like yourself. Like you've got a huge following, and then people are excited about you, and then they're like, oh, like that's her project, I guess she's going to do this or that in the future. And the cool thing is, like, it's there forever. So if there's just like one day in the future you're like, meh, I got this really cool thing going and they want to partner up with this, and this is my brand, this is ZenApe's. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I will always be looking for ways to sort of give back to the community that initially supported me. And particularly because at the moment we're not, you know, doing as well as we would like to be in terms of being able to provide the like utility. It's taking a lot longer than we'd like, as well as, you know, as much as I hate to focus on floor price, it's not looking good either. So I'm sure that's disappointing a lot of people. So if I can find another way to give value to our holders, even if it's by using my own brand or whatever, I'll take that opportunity 100%. Because
a good thing is there is 10, like, is it 10,000 collection or is it 5,000? 5,000, right?
5,000.
Yeah. So with 5,000, even though there's 5,000, like for me, I have like 30 or 40 NFT access key like art holders, but only like 10 or 15 of them even like know about it. Like they're in my Discord, like a few of them. So same with like all the other projects. Like when people have like a 10K collection, they're like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to bring value to all 10,000. It's like, yeah, but all 10,000 of those people aren't in your Discord, like actually looking for opportunities. There's only a few left. And so it's cool because they'll be able to really, really benefit from it.
I agree. I know the sort of handful of people that have stuck around because I talk to them regularly. I'm good friends with them and I recognize their names, and I'm so grateful that they've had faith in us the whole time and stuck around. So yeah, if I can do anything in the future, even if, I would happily advise on their projects in the future, anything that gives them value and sort of shows that I'm grateful for them sticking around, then I will do it.
Do you know, like, if you were tasked with dropping an NFT collection today and it was ZenApes again, and ZenApes didn't exist before, and they're like, okay, we're doing ZenApes right now. What, like, I don't know what I would do, but I just want to know, like, if you have an answer, because I don't know what I would do if I had to drop a project right now. That would be rough.
As a founder or an advisor, because if I was a founder, again, I wouldn't. Like this, that's harsh because I have loved this experience, don't get me wrong, and I'm so grateful for where it's gotten me and the awesome people I've met, but it's just such a sticky career path. It's so hard to keep up with and so immersive, requires your full attention, and it's I don't know, it's very, very difficult. So if I were to start over again, I probably wouldn't release a collection. I think I'd go down a different path and maybe do some more social commentary, or like you're doing, be a content creator. I would love to be a content creator.
You should.
I think, well, maybe when I get things settled and sorted out, then I will. But at the moment, I'm, like I said, trying to figure out ZenApe stuff, as well as, my future direction in general. So yeah, I honestly just, that's my response. And it's harsh, but it's true. It's very difficult to be a project founder. I have a totally different perspective on everything now. And I know that probably 99% of project founders agree with me.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you too, even though I'm not like a big project founder. Well, I guess what are some things that if a project is, so now you're an advisor, right? And the project says, okay, we're still doing the project drop. What do you think would be your advice? Because you have dropped the project, but also things have changed. There's different protocols that you would do that, just don't apply to now in the market.
So I think there's definitely some sort of central topics like the money. So making sure you get your taxes sorted right at the beginning, taking out that money immediately because ETH is so volatile, and not making investments into any other projects because you just, once again, so volatile and anything can change the market's perceptions. It's crazy. The second thing is your team. So our team from the inside, like while we were good friends when we started, there have been a few problems throughout, a few big problems that have really made it difficult for us to keep going. And so I would make sure that you've got NDAs written up and you've gotten different, exit strategies written up for people if they're wanting to leave. Like we've had various people leave the team, like the co-founders at different points. And we didn't have a good strategy for that set up whatsoever. So definitely getting the legal sorted out right at the beginning. And the third, like I said, is the roadmap and not locking yourself into anything. So trying to keep your vision as open as possible. Sure, you can have a storyline, you can have lore, you can have a theme, do what you want. But in terms of your deliverables, don't lock yourself into anything. Really keep it as open-ended as possible, and do what you want and pivot with the market when you want, rather than sort of being a slave to the game for the entire time.
Yeah, I would agree with all those points, especially because how you mentioned the thing about the people leaving. That would be terrifying for me to do with a team of people, because you already took the money. So like people already have your money. So at this point, it's like, oh, like we must follow through with this because it's all, we already have it all. Versus if you have a startup and you start with like 5K just from your own funds or something, that's way different. Like you can have the luxury of walking away. And that's something that I don't think, because of how much attention and hype there was, and the fact that we just didn't know any better at that point, you couldn't fault any of the people for doing it back in the day. Now you can, because like we can look back and say, okay, this is probably a good idea. This is not a good idea. But back in the day, like we didn't know any better. I remember back in like January, I literally thought there was no coming back. We were gonna go to the moon. My channel was gonna hit 100K by March, and like hadn't even hit 2K. Like it was just completely different than we all expected. And I don't think anyone expected like a worldwide recession. That definitely dampened things. You know, for like a few weeks there, we were all like, you know what, recession, but NFTs don't care, because we were still like kind of on the tail end of the bull market. And then I was like, you know, we're starting to like trend downwards for like 3 weeks in a row. This maybe isn't going to end so well for us.
Yeah, we're like, we're not pegged to the USD. Like, who cares? We're our own currency. We can do whatever we want.
Literally.
And then we're like, oh no, but it still affects us. Ah, terrible.
Wild.
I agree what you mean. I agree with what you mean. Like, it's kind of hard for that reason to be considered an OG and still be here, because, like you said, we can't change any of the decisions we made. And when we were making those decisions 12 months ago, now I have to live with the repercussions of them because I'm still around. And I have so much more information now and so much more experience. But some of the decisions we made are just, you know, you can't fix them even down the line. So it's really hard to be stuck around, to have kept around and continue to want to positively impact the space, but be in a sticky situation from decisions you made like 9 to 10 months ago.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if I was in that position, I would address them and like make it like a content bit, almost like make a series of like mistakes that I made.
Educational.
So, like, yeah. Turn that into a positive.
I get you. Totally. And I'm pretty vocal about it. Like if people want to ask for advice or where I've gone wrong, 100% own up to it. It's hard being vulnerable, and it's hard admitting to mistakes you've made, 100%, because you become so susceptible to scrutiny and opens
and
a huge
they'll remind
door for
you.
that.
They'll remind you like 8 months later, like, hey, remember that thing? You did that thing. I hate you.
But I definitely think you can tell from like our openness and willingness to communicate about it that it wasn't with ill intention, and it was like purely from a lack of experience, which is bad in itself. But it's not like we tried to hide that. We very much marketed that we were young people with no experience. Like that was our storyline. We posted selfies of us at college being like, first business ever, let's go.
Yeah.
And people still chose to give us their money, which like astounds me. But like I said, it's put us in a sticky position now.
Well, it was cool because when that was happening, I remember there was a lot of people dropping projects, and there were people that were big time business people, right? And they were having trouble selling collections. But then we'd see someone like my friend Riv, who dropped Fairy Fiends, and she was like same kind of boat as you. She was like in uni, just doing school, and then dropped the project. And I was like, it's crazy that she's gonna be able to sell this project out, but the CEO of a company for the past 20 years can't do it because he's not doing the right things, because he has too big of an ego to be like, oh, these are what's important in this world. Versus other like younger people like us, we're like, no, this is what's important because this is how people feel. And that's like what is important, especially like in what minting was, which is like the fundraising of it. But anyways, speaking of things that went wrong, most of the people's first NFT that they bought went wrong. Do you remember your first NFT?
Oh, I don't remember which one it was specifically, but I remember a few that I did have at that time. So
tell me.
One that I have remained a fan of this, you know, all the way until now is what is it? Punkscapes. So
I've heard of that. I've heard of the project. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like one of the first banner collections. I think this could be totally made up. I know nothing about them, but I really liked it. Really liked the art. It was the first banner collection I saw.
Okay.
And still is like one of the only ones that I know of. And they were like punk themed, crypto punk themed in the sort of art style, but they were really cool, like 8-bit pixel landscape banners. And they're super cool. Their team's been continually working, and they've made like realistic versions of the metadata. So you could plug in the ones you own and get like an actual generated landscape and things. So it's so cool. So that was definitely one of my first, but I don't know whether it was the first. Then I had Mutant Cats. I don't know if you remember
Mutant
those.
Cats. That was one of my first videos ever that got like 1,000. Sure. No, maybe they did rug, but their floor is okay. Because I looked at it the other day because I was doing a research for a video about like the holiday Halloween meta. They're like doing okay right now as far as floor price. Like, I guess they're doing okay. I'm pretty sure. Wait, hold on.
I think it's because they became a DAO after the issues.
Okay, so that's possible. Because I do remember people telling me that they had rugged. But then I looked at the floor and I was like, it doesn't look like it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. So I reckon the community probably took over, and
must be.
Maybe they're still running it. I'm going to be amazed because I am very sure that their founders just disappeared.
It's I would probably. So their floor's at 109, best offer 0.10, 3% listed, 1,800 owners, so 18% unique owners. Holy shit, they have 10,000 collection. Okay, so it looks like
That's
they're doing
not even
okay.
bad. I know that's
Yeah.
absolutely fine. Wow.
Yeah.
Good job.
I'm on the floor right now. There's the top 10% right now on the floor for 0.12. If anyone wants to, if anyone wants to sweep that floor, that's funny. Wow. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, there's a ton of projects actually that are like that where, maybe they do or don't deserve it, but their floor is higher than other projects that maybe like do deserve it. They're putting in all this effort and all this attention and stuff, and it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild about the things. It's like, I guess, the market just decides on its own, like what they care about and what they don't care about. And it's harsh because it's all right there for everybody to see. But yeah, Mutant Cats, that's pretty cool. What made you buy that one?
Oh, I think I was just looking at like NFT, OpenSea stats at the very beginning, and I would just see high trading volume, and I would just purchase one and hope that it kept having higher volume.
You trying to
and
flip
it did. That was like, that was my first flip, and it was good. I was like, yes. Yeah. I also had fast food friends. They were like a Pepe collection, pixelated Pepe, and they were the first community that I like participated in. I was all in their Discord, and they were very fun. I loved the team as well. Spoke to them a lot.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you just this popped to my head just now because you mentioned you're in Discord. So I did a podcast with Betty from Dead Fellows and a couple of other girls, and we had brought it up at some point in the podcast about just like they would like jump into Discord and just get fucking shit on because they're women, like just like for like no reason. I didn't know if you had an experience like, because I know you're a founder, maybe you're in a different position. Like, did you ever have any experiences like that with just dudes shaming you because you're a girl?
No, I didn't. I've been very lucky in that I haven't, touch wood, have not received any of that sort of sentiment. People have been very kind to me, and I try to show that back to them. But no, people haven't been. And I expected this too, because I post a lot of photos of myself, not revealing photos or anything, just of my face. But still haven't had anyone being rude about that either, or commenting on me being a female in the space. Perhaps it's because I lean more heavily into my sort of computer science side and sort of market / brand myself more in that route. But luckily, no sort of discrimination in that sort.
Yeah, because I've heard some shit things about some of the people that I'm friends with, and just like they'd be in Twitter Space or Discords, and I was just like, man, that's so shitty that follows us into the Web3 world. But I guess everything follows us into the Web3 world because it's just humans.
Agreed. I'm aware of it. Like I do know that I've seen it happen to other people, and it makes me upset, and it's really annoying. But it's this space is just a small proportion of the bigger world, and it's manifest out there as well. So it's not going to change in this space unless it changes in the macro as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure where it's going to go. I do spend a lot of time like pondering where Web3 is headed, as far as, especially for me as a content creator. I'm like, what am I going to do? Especially if the market stays this boring, the attention is just going to keep going down. So like there has to be a way through this, right? And so I always think about like the metaverse intrigues me a lot because I think it's inevitable. I just don't see a world where that doesn't become a version of the future, like a Ready Player One. Maybe that's way later in the future. But when I see that, I'm like, every 5 years we expand so much in technology. And VR is introduced a few years ago. They've been working on it for a few years. The biggest companies with the most money in the world are spending all their time and hiring the best engineers in the world to make it. And I'm like, well, fuck. I mean, if technology is going to innovate, and innovation innovates always because we're humans, it's like, got to be inevitable. And I just have like an obsession with like social circles and like social identities and communities and digital communities. I think that stuff's interesting. So in my view, that will always be a part of it. Like kind of what we saw with the PFP mania. Curious to see what your thoughts are on the metaverse in general.
I agree. I think everything's becoming more digital. It makes sense to turn the digital space into its own world and its own immersive experience, because people already spend their entire lives on the internet and they're all day. And, instead of just having a computer, we've now made it portable through phones so that you're bringing the internet and the, digital side of life everywhere with you. And instead of living your life, most people upload it onto social media. Everything I do is on my Instagram story. and I'm sure that at some point you'll be able to live through other people's Instagram stories, you know, because it'll be immersive or something. But I 100% agree with you. Everything's becoming digitalized, and the next logical step is to make that even more immersive by just fully putting yourself inside the computer. So,
do you want it though? Do you want that, Minnie, or do you not want that? Because a lot of people say that, and then they're like, "Yeah, but like I don't want that." For me, I'm good. Remember, my dad asked me a long time ago. He was like, "If aliens came to me today and said, we'll take you with us, and we'll tell you all the things you want to know, but you can't ever come back to Earth." I was like 7 years old, and I was like, yeah, let's go right now. Let's go right now. Like, I'm ready to go. I'm so curious about stuff. So I'm all in. What are your thoughts on the metaverse? Do you want to go all in?
It's hard. I'm ready for new experience always, and I like you. I'm curious and want to discover more. But it's hard because I haven't seen as much of the real world as I would like to. You know, maybe once I do a lot more traveling and I've seen a lot more, then I'm going to be fully ready to be in an immersive digital experience. And but at the current point in time, I don't really see a need for it. But I will accept it when it comes. And if that's, you know, if my workforce requires me to be in the metaverse to work, like,
I'm sure it will.
I'll work with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I definitely, if that happens, like with technology now, I really hope that we can still find a balance, because I struggle with it. I know people struggle with it as it is without it being immersive. I already get sucked into my phone without actually being sucked into my phone, which will happen later. So, yeah, I guess if we can still maintain a balance, then it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. I think part of it is like people, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've definitely noticed like sometimes our like hormones are fucked as far as like dopamine and stuff like that. Like sometimes it's hard to get excited. Like how we mentioned, it's hard to be surprised by anything anymore. We're just like, like whatever. You know, it's kind of similar to with excitement too. I've noticed like sometimes I'll just get excited about something and it just doesn't hit the level that I thought it would. And like as soon as I'm like kind of excited, it's just like I lose interest. So I'm like, oh no. And I feel like the metaverse maybe is like a band-aid solution to that, where it's like, oh, like now we have all this new exciting stuff. And you're like, oh my God. And then like 6 weeks later, we're like, okay, now this is boring. Now we want more and more and more and more and more, you know, and that, I guess that's the danger of like anything that's digital, because the opportunities and like the barriers are just endless. They can just be broken down and go more and further.
Yeah, I think that's dangerous. I think it's terrifying actually, but I have noticed that our generation's sort of become desensitized to a lot of things and a lot of emotions. So, you know, like you said before, not being that surprised by anything and not being excited. Like, I personally, for that reason, I don't do like any substances. I don't drink. I did in the past because obviously I went to college. And
what were you drinking
in high school? What was I drinking?
Don't tell me. Four Locos.
What is that?
You never had a Four Loco? Oh my God! Consider yourself blessed and don't ever touch one. If anyone gives you a Four Loco, sever that friendship immediately and tell them you do not know what's good for me and you don't care about me because this thing is terrible.
I think I always went for sorry, just like remembering it. These things in Australia are called little fat lambs, and they're no, they have so many standard drinks in them. It's ridiculous, and that was my go-to because I don't enjoy drinking, never did. So I was like, okay, I got to get something with mass effect, and Organics, they don't do them anymore purely because of that exact problem, that they had far too many standards in them.
That's hilarious.
But we had this convenience store at our university that sold pretty much like everything in there was out of date. I'm 100% sure.
Lovely.
Which is why they stocked these little fat lambs in mass, because they're not produced anymore. And they're probably like this big, and it had 8 standards in it. It was just disgusting.
Wait, what do you mean by that? What's standards? Like shots?
Oh,
like percentages? Like,
yeah, I guess shots worth of alcohol. So in Australia, 1 shot is 1 standard, but different volumes of different alcohols are 1 standard. So like 1 can of beer has the same amount of alcohol as 1 shot of spirits, and that's 1 standard.
Okay, very interesting.
Or like
I'll keep
30 milliliters of wine. Yeah.
Noted, because I'm going to Australia. I've told Nate. Do you know NFT Nate, a YouTuber?
Are you? I know of Nate. I haven't met him, but I know Pasta.
Let's go. I love Pasta.
We're all in Sydney, so if you come here,
yeah, I'm definitely down. I want it to happen, like for sure. And then I want it to happen in the next 6 months. I I hope, like, again, like how we mentioned, like, who knows what will happen in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
But I really, really wanted to. I thought about doing NFT London, and then I saw like the prices and the tickets, and I was like, I just don't want to. It's a conference. I went to NFT Seattle's conference, which is cool, but it's also like 1 minute down the road from me. I'm in the city, so I got really lucky there, and it was only a couple $100. So then I was like, okay, well, if I'm not gonna go to Europe, maybe I'll do Australia, because I know so many people now. Like, I met so many amazing people, just like the nicest people ever, and it looks fun. And now I know that standards are the same as shots, and just like one drink basically.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh my gosh. Well, make sure you come to Sydney, please, and let us know when you're doing
it. Yeah, we should. If I do, like, I definitely want to. I'll bring my camera. Obviously, I'll make some kind of vlog video out of it. I love doing that kind of stuff when I can.
That'll be so fun. Oh my goodness.
But anyways, we were talking about. So I interrupted you and asked what kind of drink you did. So you don't take any substance or anything?
No, I've had some bad experiences, but also I find that I don't know, I'm able to enjoy things and get really excited without using anything. And I want to keep that for as long as possible. And I want to wait until I'm at a point where I don't get as excited by things, or I find, life really mundane and boring. And so that to celebrate with friends, I will like start drinking or whatever, which I don't know. I'm happy as I am. And like you said, when I did get to a point where I drank a lot in high school, and things, like you said, they didn't excite me as much. And so I would drink like every weekend, or, like, I don't know. So now I'm very happy without doing those things. Yeah.
Once you go sober for a while, you're like, wow, I can't believe I would ever waste my time doing that. For me, it's rough, because my vice has always been weed. Like, I do like after I go maybe like a month, or like when I cut it out, I'll go like a month or two. And after a while, I'm just like, I kind of just like want to be high like once. But the problem is it's really hard just to like get high once. Like, once you do it once, you're like, oh, you're like kind of back into the same spiral. And those things are tough, because like they're literally gateways. They're just gateways to more and more things. It's really hard to keep a lid on it. I know a lot of successful people who smoke. I guarantee you they would be 100 times more effective if they weren't smoking, even though they say they're not, and they say it helps. I know for a fact, I know for myself, I'm better sober, even though I tell myself I'm not. It's just hard. It's really, really hard to battle that.
Yeah, I get you. I'm not against anything. Like, I'm not against people doing drugs or drinking, but myself, I find myself, and I think other people would be more productive if they stuck to, like you said, being sober. But that's probably a very conservative and old-timey view, so I don't talk about it much in case I get like shunned.
Yeah. I guess it depends like how much you're able to really like unplug when you're just chilling. Like, a lot of people just go for that drink when they're ready to unplug, go for that smoke when they're ready to unplug. It depends like how good you are inside when you're about to unplug, and you're like, do I really need this drink? And some people just don't need that drink to have that same level of just chillness, at the end of the day. For me, it's sometimes hard to sleep because my brain's always going a million miles per hour, which is why I talk so fast sometimes, because I get excited.
I get that. I'm a night exerciser for that reason. Like, I love going for long runs just before I sleep, because then I finally just crash instead of having a mind that's absolutely zooming for the entire night.
That's interesting. That's an interesting idea, actually. I never thought to run at nighttime to get so that you're tired. You're kind of like, at the end. That's actually a good idea. Maybe I should try that.
It's also, I don't know, I love the vibes. I always put on some sort of cyberpunky, like astral sort of trance music, and then it's nighttime, there's no one there, running through the lights. It feels like you're in cyberpunk or something. It's great.
That's so cool. I do that every now and then. My mom came to visit me a few weeks ago, and there's in the cities, there's these like electronic bikes and electronic scooters and stuff like that. And I love doing those at night, because like the cities are beautiful. Like, there's so many lights everywhere, and I'm like zooming through everything. I've got like my little scooter bike thing, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm in a fucking video game right now. Like, there's people yelling on the side of the streets, like, give me my money, like, give me my drink. And then there's like someone getting beat over there, cops over there. There's like a venue, a festival, and I'm just like zooming past all of it. I'm like, holy shit, there's so many things happening. Do you live in the city, or do you live like in a residential area?
I live at the beach, so very lucky. But there's definitely, I live at a not very populated beach, but a few beaches down running distance, there is, huge like clubs and all of that. So lots of lights if you go that way.
Very cool. Very cool. Listen, so I want to, there's some like Q&A, I guess not Q&A, like, what's the word? Why can't I think? Rapid fire. That's the word. Like, rapid fire Q&A questions that I want to do. Even though they're literally not rapid fire, because every time I ask them, we end up going into it and then we talk about it for a few minutes anyway. But there's just like questions that I love asking. They're just like random all over the place. Some are NFTs, some are not. You ready? You down?
Yeah, send it.
Okay. All right, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any reoccurring dreams? I love this question. Or remember when you were a kid, if you had any reoccurring dreams. Do you remember?
Oh my gosh. God. This is weird because sometimes I have absolutely livid dreams where I wake up in the morning and I remember exactly what happened. But as far as recurring, I think there's one that I've had throughout my childhood that was like being chased through a forest, reaching a cliff, and just jumping. And
Really?
yeah, that
And then you
replays a
wake up
lot.
or what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes I think I've flown off like once I've jumped.
Legend.
Um,
Legendary.
but I think other times I've just like jolted awake and be like, holy crap. But that's happened a lot. I wonder what that's symbolic
Nate's
of.
in the chat right now. He's in the
Really?
TikTok stream. Nate, come to YouTube, bro. Come to the YouTube stream or wherever. All right, sorry. Continue.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what that like. I'm also a psych major, but I can't unpack that one. I don't know.
Really? So have you researched it? Have you tried to figure out what that means?
I haven't. I'm not that worried about it. It's not.
True.
It doesn't cause me any stress.
True. Nice. Yeah. For me, I always had the same one growing up. I haven't had any. Okay, well, I have some like recurring dreams every now and then, but the one I always remember from as a kid was that I would be like running in syrup. It felt like I couldn't run fast. I was like in slow motion or something. And it was in my old childhood home that I grew up in. And my dad was basically in the living room and I'm in this long hallway. Even though the hallway is like 10 feet, I was like tiny. So like it felt like it was a long hallway. And I'm running so slow. I'm trying to stop him. I'm like, no. And there's this big python like in Harry Potter. And it's like about to like eat him. And he's like, oh, and like everything's moving so slow. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, why am I moving so slow? And I can never save him, but I never know how it ends. I think the dream is just an everlasting me trying to get there, which is interesting. It's interesting because like that's how I feel sometimes in life. I feel like I'm never arriving anywhere. I'm just kind of like almost getting somewhere, and then like I get stuck, and then I'm like, then I go somewhere again.
That could be it. Yeah. Oh, the classic dream run where you can't run. You're like telling yourself in your dream to run, and you're just like.
It is so frustrating.
So
have you ever had one where you died and you like thought you like when you woke up you're like?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah? A lot.
Yeah, those will fuck me up. I've had a couple of those when I was growing up. That I had one in particular. I remember waking up and being truly confused and like having to do some checks. Like I like went and like checked my parents' room. I was like, okay, I think they're real or something. Like, is this heaven? Like I was really, really out of sorts.
There's been a lot where I've like stayed. Oh, sorry. Next question. Go.
No, go. No, keep going.
There've been a lot where I like continued to exist in my dream after death. I don't know, and it was just and I was just like paralyzed, and it was just dark in my dream, and I was sort of awake but not awake, and I was like, oh, and then I broke out of it. I don't know how to describe it, but
dang,
I think my brain was confused because obviously we don't know what happens after death, so that part of the dream is just weird. Yeah,
very, very interesting. Yeah, I'm very curious about that. Like whenever I see a TV show and there's like death somehow depicted in it, it makes me weird. Like whenever, especially if I see like a death scene, so I have like this weird feeling because I'm so curious as to what happens next. Like I'm not fully bought in on like they're either good or you're bad at the end, and then like that's your future forever. I'm kind of like, okay, something happens after it. I'm just like, there's some kind of peaceful thing at the end. It's kind of like you did all you could in this like this phase of life, and like now you're on to the next thing, and it's almost like okay, like it's over now. And anyways, it's like an entire. I could do a whole podcast on that. Do you have any? Do you have any weird conspiracies that you subscribe to that you're like, yep?
No, I don't think so. Maybe that we live in a simulation and we would never know. True. How would we know? We could just be living in a computer right now because we are making AI ourselves. And then what if the AI generates a world and it happens all over again? But I'm not subscribed to it. Yeah, it's just a fun thought. It is Matrix vibe, but I'm not. Yeah,
we're too woke. Convinced. We're too woke out here. ZenApes are too woke.
Get red pilled. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have any tattoos?
No.
None. Really?
No.
Do you want one?
No, I am very conservative. Not in like I don't like those things on other people. Anyone else's life, body, do what you want. I don't care. For myself, I'm like, one ear piercing set, like no tattoos sort of gal, which is, I don't know, maybe some people call me boring, but I like what I like and I'm chill with it.
True. Right on. How about travel? So I know you said that you haven't experienced too much of like the real world yet. Is that mainly because like uni, like is it after uni that you want to go and do those things? Like is traveling something that's big on your bucket list?
Yes, traveling is all I want to do. Like I said, I've downscaled on work at the moment because I really want to open myself up next year to being able to study remotely and just travel and do my uni courses overseas and some NFT stuff overseas. And why? I did a lot of traveling with my family when I was younger, but I think that's different. And as soon as I turned 18, COVID hit. So like I haven't, as long as I've been an adult, I've been like in COVID isolation or either lockdown, no travel. So I'm really ready to just sort of do my own thing and go traveling.
I feel that heavy actually. That's literally what my mindset was when I like a year and a half ago, I think it was like I quit my job and I had a little bit of money, just like you were saying, a couple $1,000s or something saved up. Had a lot of money in crypto, which crashed like literally 2 weeks into my trip, which was was rough. That was not good. But yeah, I basically traveled. I went all in and I like got my mom's old car and lived in it and did that kind of travel life for a while. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that depending on what you're going for. I was definitely going like for soul searching. I needed all the freedom. And that was rough. There was a lot of lessons that I learned, but like the travel was cool. I got some really cool pictures that ended up being my NFT collection. A lot of those photos came from that trip. But that's yeah, awesome. Traveling is the coolest thing ever. Definitely would say to do that.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited.
All right. I've got a couple more here. Do you have a favorite food chain?
Oh, like fast food chain. I don't eat much fast food, to be honest. So
me neither.
Nah. But I like different cuisines. Like I love Asian food, all kinds.
Really?
Thai food, Japanese food, Korean, all of it. Give it right now.
I grew up on that. My mom's Japanese, so I grew up on all the Asian foods.
Oh, Nihongo ga hanasemasu ka?
Holy shit! Wait, you can speak Japanese?
Yeah.
Why?
I studied it in high school. Yeah, I did.
Oh my
I did
god!
it in my final exams, and then also part of my job, I speak Japanese. Yeah.
Sugoi.
Sugoi.
Very crazy. Wow, I never. You probably speak better Japanese than I do. I have a very casual way of speaking, and I can survive with like. I don't know what level my vocab is, but I could survive if I was dropped off, but I would have trouble like holding super deep conversations. Like I had an interview I was supposed to teach in Japan a couple of years ago. That was what COVID actually stopped that from happening. But I was supposed to a job out there and I had to do half the interview in Japanese. And oh my God, that was so stressful.
But yeah. Yeah, now that Japan's opened up, I'm hoping to definitely do some digital nomad style, just hop over to Japan. Practice my language for a bit because I haven't. High school was like 3 years ago now for me, so I really want to solidify my language skills by living in Japan for a bit.
That's a great way to do it. Yeah, maybe we'll both go because I'll be in Australia. Japan's like right over there.
Oh my gosh, do you want to digital nomad it? I actually need someone to go over with so that rent's cheaper or something.
I think we can definitely talk about that because yeah, that would be really cool. Actually, I would be so down, especially because the digital nomad life is like the move.
Yeah, there'll be great photography opportunities for you as well over there. It'll be.
Oh yeah. That would be sick. We'll talk about it. Yeah. I'll have to get to Australia first, but yes. Yeah. Okay. Do you have a favorite NFT that you hold?
I think maybe my Gojira Gen 2 has a soft place in my heart because I went traveling with the Gojira team. And Sean's one of my best friends. Yeah. So when they did their Singapore trip and their Bali trip, I went with them. And they were using all of that time together for team bonding and for working on the project. And because I was there to help them host the events, I was inadvertently involved in all of the team bonding exercises. So I was just like intermediary part of the team for the part of the trip. So yeah, I think that's one that I wouldn't even consider selling. It's a hodl because I love Sean and I love the team, and yeah, they feel like family even though they're a different project.
So. That is so cool. How long did you travel with them for, you said?
It was like 2 weeks. So it was so funny. I was just at home and it was my uni holidays and Sean's like, do you want to come to Singapore and like co-host this event for us? Because they needed an MC. And I was like, oh, hello, yeah. Booked tickets to Singapore, and then it was on the day that I was heading back to Australia. He's like, we're going to Bali next for some more events. Do you want to come? I was like, okay. So I just changed my ticket from Australia to Bali, and then I went with them there. And then they were like, do you want to come to Manila? And I was like, no. So it was not that I didn't want to go. I had uni, so I had to go.
Oh, okay.
And I wish I could have stayed on and continued more of the trip with them. But
it's
so cool.
Isn't that wild how much you can bond just a couple weeks? I mean, I was at NFT NYC and I saw the guys and the girls for like not even a week or something like that. And I felt so connected to them forever because of just a few days, you know?
Yeah, they were so welcoming. 2 weeks is a long time, in all honesty. And we were living together, like in the same hotel. And in Bali, we were all in the same like villa together and stuff. So it was very close quarters. But they were so welcoming. And the Gojira team is all age groups. They've got people from, my age, 20s, all the way up to 50s and parents and stuff. It's awesome. They were very welcoming and very cool blokes.
Oh, shit. Shout out Gojira. Did not know that.
I know.
Very,
shout
very
out
cool.
to the team. Love you guys. Miss you.
How was Bali? Because that was one of the places I've been looking at for digital nomad potentially in the future.
Very affordable. Very kind people as well. Beautiful nature. It's a good spot. Very convenient as well from Australia. It's like I would definitely consider returning. Not one of my favorite countries that I've been to, but I still thought it was gorgeous and very good experience. Yeah.
Cool. Right on. Well, I got a couple last questions here. One of them's more deeper than the other. Do you want to go deeper first or surface level first?
Let's go deep first.
Deep first? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll end on a funny note. Okay. Hardest thing that you've worked through and how did it affect you? How did you work through it? Like stuff like that.
Whoa.
Like a low moment maybe where you were like, fuck, this is really bad. Or like, this really sucks.
There was, like I said, we had some team problems with one of our co-founders in ZenApe. And it happened when, because this is my first business, I've had just no experience with that whatsoever. And it was pretty bad. And it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. I had no clue what to do. I thought it was the end of our project.
How early was it?
I was probably like halfway through, maybe in March or April.
Did you know them in real life?
Yeah. Not well though, not well at all. And yeah, it sucks because A, you lose a friend, and B, it's just a really scary experience trying to figure out what to do when you have never experienced something like that before. So, how do we work through it? I think I got as much advice as possible without sort of breaking any NDAs, like indirect advice from people. And asking mentors what to do and just sort of making decisions that I thought were best in the macro sense and for the project. What would have been best for our team and personally was way different. And looking back on it, I wish I made decisions based off of that instead of for the project, because inadvertently it kind of didn't work anyway down the line. But yeah, I guess we just pushed through it best we can because we knew we had to. And I don't know. It was just using logic and making decisions that were logically sound was the way that we got through.
True.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, we'll end this on a little bit of a happier note.
Yeah.
What were you like in high? It's a 2-pronged question. What were you like in high school? Is the first part of it. Like, were you a degen? Were you degenerate going out every single night? Like, what was the life?
Different. Yeah, now I like to pride myself on being a very intelligent, well-grounded person. But in high school, I was all about popularity and, going out partying, people pleaser, trying to make sure that I had as many friends as possible, that there was no one that existed that didn't like me, and that I was, just the life of the party. And that is totally different to who I am now. I have my focus is on much different things, and I still value relationships and try to be a people pleaser, I guess, and making sure that other people are happy as well. But it's not in the same manner whatsoever. Yeah,
I think that's like the journey that we all kind of, well, not all of us, but hopefully you'd hope that everyone goes through with like the journey of self-discovery a little bit in high school where you're like, okay, that's not quite what I wanted. Like, that's definitely because of this reason or that reason. And now you're kind of a little bit more mature. I think a lot of us kind of went through, like, I was the same. I was so worried about my popularity. Like, I came from a school before where I transferred like in middle, like I went to the same school as like a private school that my dad worked at. So I got free tuition from like 1st through 10th. So I was basically like 15 when I got my first taste of like public school. And before that, all the years leading up, I was such a loser. And like everyone there was way more attractive than me, way smarter than me. And I was just like bottom of the barrel, scraping for anything. And then I moved to a public school where I was like just kind of shot up to like the middle tier or something. And I got the biggest head, and I just like ate that stuff up. And I was like, my goal was to be like so popular, so cool, like be the captain, like do the coolest promposal and all this stupid shit. And then way more low key now, for sure.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I was totally so self-obsessed and cocky, and yeah, blech, I can't even think about it.
All right, and here's the second part answer. What was the first relationship you had? Did it end well? Are you married? Like I asked this to like some people, and you would not believe who's married in this space where you're like, wait, I thought you were like 22. They're like, no, I'm like 35. I'm married. Got 2 kids. I'm like, wait, what?
Wow. No, I've been single for a long time, actually, probably. But that's because COVID happened, and like we were in college in COVID.
Oh yeah,
so
wait, COVID. I forgot about that because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, it's been a while. Then I was like, oh wait, I have a little bit of an excuse. It's fine.
Yeah, and Australia lockdown was intense. Like we were in actual isolation for most of the past 2 or 3 years. So didn't meet many people, had flings and stuff, but not relationships. My first relationship was when I was like maybe 14 or 15 in high school. And it was, like I said, I was chasing that popularity. So I dated this really lovely guy from our brother school's top football team or whatever. So the group of girls I was in, like the popular group or whatever, it was a thing to sort of date boys from the footy team so that on the weekend you could all go together and watch their footy game and, you know, be like the wives on the sideline. It was, anyway, this guy and I, we didn't talk much. I have a thing for sort of, I don't know, maybe like stoic guys that kind of, I don't know. But he was really calm, really chill, didn't really talk to many people, very close circle. And he loved playing League of Legends.
Oh my God, League of Legends.
So now I'm obsessed with League because I started playing FIFA. That's my way of like,
that's funny.
Like, get involved with him. I was like, let's play League. He's like, you play League? I'm like, totally.
Of course I do.
He's like, in mid-game 2 weeks later, why are you so shit? I thought you said I'm like, oh.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and then so we didn't. The reason we started dating pretty much was because people were like, "Oh my gosh, like he doesn't talk to anyone, you know, like he doesn't talk to any girls.
Okay.
He like doesn't have any friends. That means he must like you." And I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense." And he's really good looking and he's a funny guy, so totally. So we started dating. Not really because we wanted to start dating, more so because other people told us we should. And then we broke up on Valentine's Day over text.
Oh no! Over text? Was it you or was it him?
It was mutual. It was We were both like, "This is not it."
Was it mutual?
I genuinely can't remember, but I feel like it was. Yeah.
Oh boy, that is funny as fuck. Yeah, I'm trying to think of my first relationship. It was my first real relationship was probably around the same age, like 14, 15. And that one was terrible. Like I had a whole string of terrible relationships in the beginning. Just dating people who just got out of very long relationships has been my trend. I don't know how I kept falling into that same thing. It was bad, man. It was bad. And it wasn't like I was even desperate. I just happened to pick the one person who's like out of all the people in the group, like the one person who's in a 4-year relationship since last week. Yeah. That's just how it happened for me. So that was how I was growing up. So that was rough. I'd learned a lot of lessons in the 4 or 5 relationships I had growing up. So yeah, none of them ended well for me, but it's okay. I've learned a lot of things, and I don't know, whatever, now I'm focused on other things like NFTs and videos and stuff. So I don't know, it's been a wild ride, and I don't know. We talked about a lot of shit. I'm very excited to go back and clip this up for like highlights and see, because we went into like 75 different circles of conversation, and this was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. No, I love combos that jump around and don't beat the bush, just get into everything.
100%. Hell yeah, this is great. Yeah, guys, and for people who are in here in the chat, I don't know where you're at. Like some people are on TikTok, some people are on other channels. I can see the people on YouTube right now. Thank you so much for being here. Some of y'all have been here since the very beginning. If you made it to the end, code word. What should the code word be? Like Japan or something? Since should we manifest it? Sure. Yeah, all right, we'll manifest. Okay, code word, if you made it to the very end, is Japan. Manifest this with us. We're going to be digital nomads one day. That would actually be really cool. My mom would be thrilled if that happened too.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll do that. And make sure you click the like button, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. I have her stuff down below in the description if you want to check her stuff out. And yeah, that's pretty much it, fam. Oh, NFT Nate, he's still in here. He says Japan. Hell yeah. Thank you so much for being here, man. This was so fun. So much fun.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to meet you and chat.
Nice to meet you too.
You're a great host. So
thank you. I appreciate it. Guys, all right. Until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn, and be grateful you're alive watching this video.